Thank you for coming down.
No problem.
Really
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on the black belt.
Thank you very much.
So how many years has it been since you started BJJ?
It's been about around 7.5 years. I started like July 2015. Never looked back since.
Is that quite soon to get a black belt? Like 7-8 years?
In general, it's considered around 10 to 12 years is the average.
Yeah.
But I think 7.5 is okay. I think it's okay.
Do you reckon that's a testament to the hard work you've put in, obviously?
Yes. Yeah, I have worked hard, but like I wasn't expecting it. It was out the blue completely. We didn't have this conversation. Usually, or most of the time, me and Chris usually have this conversation where I'm at, where other people are at. Because when Chris promotes people, it's like he has feedback of me and some of the other higher belts.
Yeah.
But no, this was completely like, it was quite funny when I had a feeling something's going on, but I thought it was for Abbas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were actually sitting next to each other, and I started seeing all these guys coming in who weren't doing the seminar from our gym. Some in normal clothes. And I like knocked him. I'll try and find the video, but I knocked him like, "You're getting promoted, mate." And then Chris has gone to his bag, pulled out a black belt, and he says, "This is going to be my first one." I was like, "Abbas, you're getting it, bro." He goes, "Knack." I'm like, "What? No chance." So yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
But I guess he believes in me.
So you're talking about your black belt, getting it.
Yes. So yeah. It's complete surprise, mate. Complete surprise. I had a feeling I'll probably get it. So in 2020, I had a feeling I'd get it by 2025. So that would have been like just under the 10-year mark, and I would have been like happy with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be average. But when he gave me that, I was like, what? No chance. And like, it didn't settle in for a few days. I was thinking, really? Really? Like, I'm a black belt? Really? But yeah, it's a good achievement. It's probably one of my best achievements.
So getting to a black belt, what has that been like in terms of the dedication and the hours that you put into it?
Hard. A lot of people don't realize this because they don't see the hard work that goes into it. You should ask my family because they don't see a lot of me. I'm just always training. And I don't advertise how much I train, but I train a lot.
Right.
I've been training like this for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I built up to it. Like my first few years, I was working full time, so I was a high school teacher.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What are you teaching?
Computer science.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you come from a tech background.
Yeah. You could say that. Like I enjoy it. Once I get involved into it, I'm like, I'll do it. But it's so time consuming.
Yeah.
I just hate it.
So what makes someone go from a computer science teacher to going, okay, you know what I want to do is commit myself to learning martial arts?
There's a lot of reasons. So I was training pretty much not full time, but like 5-6 days a week while working as a teacher. I was a TA before that, and then I did my whole PGC and stuff. Funnily enough, I've got a law degree, so if I told you from the beginning, you'd be like, I've just gone from one start, and then I've gone to do something else, then I've done something else, then done something else. But thankfully now I'm at a stage where I'm like, this is my life now. It just took a while for me to like find what I really want to do.
Yeah.
But teaching, like, the government was a big part of that, because the wage was the way I feel, when I put work into something, I feel like if somebody works for me, I feel, and I see them putting effort into it, I want to reward them.
Yeah.
But I was working as a teacher 60-70 hours a week, and I worked it out, and I was on like £4.50 an hour. And one day I was just there angry, and I just threw the papers in, and I'm like, look, I'm not doing this no more. And then the next day I decided, I went and did my PT course. So I've applied for that, and I was doing that alongside, because I'd already decided after July, when the year ends, I'm not doing this anymore. I've had enough. My 4 or 5 years I was in that profession, it went like a blur. It was like, I can't remember most of the important things that happened in my life during that time. Like my son was born, my first daughter was born. Like there's a lot of things which just flew by because I never had time to put it this way. Like the amount of hard work and dedication I've put into now in the last since I left teaching in training to be jiu-jitsu and MMA and all that stuff. All that hard work that I put into there, I still had time to do things, and I still remember everything. Time feels slower compared to when I was a teacher, where it just literally flew. And there's times now where I do not like thinking about that time. They have destroyed the teaching profession completely.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot as well, because I've got friends who are teachers and they quit because they just couldn't do it anymore.
The year I left, there were a lot of new teachers who didn't want to do it anymore. They were like, I can't see myself slaving away, because you'd speak to more experienced teachers and they'd explain to you like, it was nothing like this. And they're taking early retirements and you're thinking, okay, do I really want to do this for 20, 25 years? And look back and think, I've achieved nothing in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just questions like that. And I've always been someone, I keep myself to a high standard. I don't like being lazy. And I felt when I was teaching that I'm putting so much effort into this and I'm not getting anything back. I sat down and I thought, I'm not going to get anything back. Thankfully, because I was doing jiu-jitsu and I was competing, I was winning.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I can make a real go of this.
Sorry, when you say you weren't getting anything back, do you mean from the students or from the profession itself?
No, students. Like, don't get me wrong, I took a lot of skills from teaching. My specialism was behavior management.
Okay.
And even when I was a TA, they used to put me with kids who aren't, concentrating in class or behavioral needs and all that kind of thing. So I got on with them. All the naughty kids who people say, oh, they like this, they like that. Like, you have to get to the root cause of what the problem is. And teachers are in such a bad position. Like, the average person thinks teachers are loving it. They get holidays, X, Y, or Z, whatever they get, Christmas, Easter, summer holidays, half terms. And they don't understand these people don't rest. They're working non-stop. Just as like any average person, when they have them 4 weeks off in a year, them people in the summer holidays, they're lucky to get 2 weeks off. And then they're back in school before the students get in. And it's like, why? The government, they give it, like, are we allowed to swear?
Yeah.
The government don't give a shit about you. They're giving you the least amount of money they can give you.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no other benefits. Like, don't get me wrong, 20 years ago, like, you come from an Asian background like me, and your parents want you to be like a lawyer or a doctor or a pharmacist or teacher or something. Nobody cares nowadays. All that matters is you earn money. Doesn't matter how you earn your money. As long as it's not illegal, nobody cares what profession you're in. Like, if somebody come up to me, it doesn't matter whether you're a waiter or whether you're a head teacher or whether you are owner of a big CEO company. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean? And I think people have moved away. Not the Asian people, because they're still like, no, solicitor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be pharmacist. Like, no, stop putting pressure on your kids.
Yeah, doctors and engineers seem to be the going thing.
Well, don't get me started on doctors now, especially in the pandemic. But anyway, but yeah, so it was just money. It was £4. I was like $4.50 an hour. I was like, I could make better money working on the bloody supermarket shelves.
That's actually what's happened. I remember reading this article. It was a news article, and it was just talking about how PAs are quitting and going to work in Tesco's because they're getting paid more.
Yes.
And that is a ridiculous thing to happen in this country in this day and age. Right?
It's mad. As we're going on, as further time goes, like, this country, other than a few institutions that are left, it's not far from a third world country. It doesn't matter how they want to put it. Like, you come from a third world country. Yeah. I come from a third world country. Even though I was born and bred here, I've lived there. I've lived like months on time in Pakistan, Kashmir. And I've seen it. And I see them same attitudes now since they've opened the lockdowns. I can talk for England, like, it's completely gone upside down.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, even just normal things like customer service, people ain't got no manners no more. It's like, they don't give a damn about anything, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, other than putting a complaint in. But what's a complaint going to do? Nobody looks at complaints. I've been in them positions, complaint, boom, in the bin. Nobody cares. There's no scrutiny left. Nobody's put to account. There's no accountability. People don't give a damn about responsibility. And it's like, in 5 years, where are we going to be? In 10 years, where are we going to be as a nation?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I actually had this exact same thought. Like, I've had this thought for a while, and it's genuinely like England, like you said. I genuinely feel like it is going downhill and going into a third world country kind of
Yes.
style, because there is actually loads of jobs about, but the jobs aren't paying well. Like people can't get by. Like, you know, like people are having to choose between having their heating or food.
Yes.
And I mean, at least the price of petrol's come down a bit, like a tiny bit.
Tiny
So
bit, yeah.
like, so that's good, because I work in Wolverhampton, and I'm like, you know, driving back and forth almost every day. So for 1 week, if I go in for the whole week, that's a full tank of petrol.
Yeah.
And before, when it was like 180 and stuff, I was spending £300, more than £300 a month on petrol,
Yeah.
just on petrol,
You're
and it's
joking.
insane. And I can't imagine what it's like for someone who's actually struggling. You know what I mean?
This exact thought, like I had yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. I can survive a bit. Like I'm not saving as much, but you know, I'm okay. What about the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, or people who lose their job and they got no savings?
Yeah.
You know, it's bad out there, and the government aren't. They're not looking and seeing the real image of what's going on in this country, and it's a matter of time where it's going to implode. People are, you know, how long are they going to take this for? It's
Yeah.
mad. I don't know. I can't see, and a lot of people just they'll complain, but they're not doing anything. It's like, okay, carry on then.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, what has happened? Like, what's caused this shift?
I don't know.
Because pre-pandemic, I would never have said that this country would be in the state that it's in now.
I wouldn't say it like the state we're in, but if the Tories were in, like they are still in, it would have carried on. Like it wouldn't be at the stage we're at. Like say if there was no pandemic. I mean, before the pandemic, we were still getting screwed. We've been getting screwed since 2010. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But I think, like, for some things like the NHS and all of that stuff, the demise of the NHS,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of been written since Tony Blair's administration.
Yes.
Like, people like to think it's kind of recent
No.
and that the Tories have done it, but it's actually Tony Blair who
Yes.
kind of set the demise for the NHS, like,
He
in
started
stone.
selling bits of it off,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Like, he started privatizing bits of it off, and it's. I've got loads of friends who work in the NHS, and I'm sure that you do as well.
Oh, my sister works in the NHS.
Yeah, and from first-hand experience, I can say that most of the complaints are about it's just bloated beyond anything that you've ever seen before. People who shouldn't have their jobs keep it, and people who should have jobs don't get it.
Just like teaching.
Yeah,
It's the middle managers. It's like I said before with the value thing, you don't get rewarded for value that these days. What you get rewarded for is ass kissing and bum sniffing. You'll see that. You'll see middle managers. You'll see people in positions who are not supposed to be there. They've got no right being there. Like our politicians are a perfect example. Not just from the Tories. That it might look like I'm just going down on Tories. It's all politicians. Like there is not a single politician you could sit there and say there's any credibility with them. You know, maybe a select few, but the majority, you can't, like off the top of your head, you can't think of anyone who you can sit there and say, okay, he's clean as a whistle.
yeah. I think even like with Labour as well.
Yeah.
Like they haven't won an election in the last, what was it, 3-4 terms now?
Yeah. Since 2010.
Yeah. So, since Gordon Brown,
Yeah.
like Labour hasn't won an election, and I think it speaks to how weak they are as a party. Like I'll say that straight up. It genuinely speaks to how weak they are, because even with all of the complaining that we do about the Tories and all of that,
Yeah.
like they still haven't managed to win an election. I mean, it's all fair and well, you know, you shout or everything in Parliament and go on and, you know, just talk shit.
Means nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like all talk but no action. And you know, if we've got stemming from the top of government, and we expect society to follow government, like if you told a young lad, like, I'll give you an example. If you asked a kid who your role model was, would they ever say any politician? No. They'd give you some kind of athlete, probably Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, or some form of boxer or MMA fighter, or some kind of athlete in some other sport. Why are we at a stage where people who run a country, who are responsible for running a country, and you as well, why can't someone with that kind of job or role be a role model? Like, why? Shouldn't that be the case? Okay, you fair enough look up to footballers and all that stuff. It's natural. But there's not a single politician, anybody probably between the ages of 12 and 18, other than Boris, just for a laugh to say, yeah, Boris a lad, blah, blah, blah. But if you asked them, like, with substance, like, why you think he's your role model or why this is a person to look up to, they wouldn't be able to tell you anything.
Yeah. So kind of relating back to what you were talking about, hard work, some people just don't want to work hard, and people kind of don't take accountability and stuff anymore. Like, what made you kind of decide, okay, I want this to change, as in your teaching profession, like you've realized that I don't want to do this anymore, and you found your passion in BJJ and grappling and martial arts?
Yes.
Kind of, where did that come from?
So I've always been involved in sports some way or another. So I used to play football from a very young age. I played for football teams. Then in high school, I found rugby.
Yeah.
Played rugby till about I was 16, 17. Got to like county level, so I played for the school team and Longton Rugby Club.
Okay.
And then...
Did you ever want to take rugby further?
Yes, I did. And then we're going to get into the whole race round now.
Oh, okay.
So at 16, I got Player of the Year for the team I played for, but then I couldn't get in the team next year. So now we're college, so we left school. So now we're going into the adults, and I couldn't get into the team for whatever reason. I thought I was good enough, but it was funny going from Player of the Year before and then not being able to get into the team. So I started falling out of love. I was like, I'm not going to kill myself trying to make a team, because before that, I'd done county trials. So when I was about 15, and in my opinion, I did very well. But again, I couldn't get in. The people I went with, like my training partners who I went to these trials with, I surpassed them in my opinion. But some of them got in, I didn't. And I was like, okay, no problem. Just took it on the chin. Then the year after, I got Player of the Year for the team. Got to the adults level. Couldn't get into the team. So I was about 17 at this time. And I thought, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to go into what I really like. And that was like fighting. I've always been involved in fighting from a young age. Don't ask me why.
But did you get in trouble?
Not necessarily. It was more about defending ourselves, because where I come from, in Stoke, now it's okay, but there was a lot of racism. And the school I went to, like, we were the first group of Asians that school took on. So in year 7, there was about 15 of us, like Asian lads, and the whole school was just white kids. Yes. And then we used to get bullied, like, from the older lot and stuff. But as we grew up, got into year 9, year 10, so like 14 is where I kind of changed. I used to be a really shy kid. I was not like this. Like, can't believe it. I say to my son sometimes, because he's spitting image of me, like, and he's dead shy. And I'm like, when he hits 15, 14, this kid's going to change. I've got to be ready for that. But yeah, I changed at 14, like a complete flip. I went from a shy kid to a really confident. I started going gym, doing really heavy weights, and then rugby as well. So I was all into that routine, into that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then I was also interested in boxing, MMA, like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, all these legends. Grew up watching them. Well, not grew up, but as I was growing up, seeing the videos on YouTube. There was a period where I was about 15, and I went just through Mike Tyson period where I try to find a picture. I've even got a Mike Tyson line, just there. Yeah, and it was like I was a proper fanboy at the time. Just loved it. And then MMA was obviously emerging at that time. Used to love watching it. Used to watch the local UK scene as well, Cage Rage.
Yeah.
And then I always just loved that side. And then I used to do rugby as well, which you could argue it's borderline grappling, especially when you start taking people down and rucks and mauls. And I just love the grappling art, because I knew like what they're doing is different. It's not, there's technique behind it. And I always respected technique from watching boxing and stuff. Because again, being involved in fights and actually seeing it on TV, like, I'm doing nothing what these guys are doing, you know what I mean? And if I meet someone who's even half as skilled as these guys, they're going to smash me up. And it was an ego thing as well, you know what I mean? I don't want to get beat up. And again, because we were always fighting guys who were older than us, it was like, we've got to get better, we've got to keep fighting, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I went to learn a bit of boxing. whilst I was doing boxing, so I left rugby completely after this. I was like, I'm done, not doing rugby ever again. I'm that kind of person. If I like something, I'll do it. If I don't like something, you ain't gonna see me. It's the same with people. If I like someone, you'll see me with them. If I don't, you ain't gonna see me chatting to them. It's as simple as that. And so I was like, I'm done with rugby now. So moved on. Boxing, did that for a few years. There's it was locally as well in Charlton. Kafil Ahmed, his name is Keith. He's still active. Like he runs charity boxing exhibitions and stuff. Yeah, so good friend of mine now as well because he was a PT. So he's someone I looked up to because I was like 17, 18 at the time. He's a bit older than me, and he was running these sessions. And I'd join in these like boxing classes with older guys as well. The classes used to run. So in that time period, again, between 17 to 20, like I was just doing boxing a bit, trying to find MMA, trying to find Jiu-Jitsu, but I couldn't find a club where I could go and be comfortable. Just with the attention and the way they treated you and things.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, either these people want you there or they don't. But I was always open to learning. Like I still am, like even though I'm a black belt, you'll see me sitting in classes, and I'm like, I want to learn. It's always learning. So then I started around 20. I kind of just stopped training. I bloated up. I got to like 135 kilo.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was massive, man. Again, them pictures on my Instagram, probably on my Facebook somewhere. But yeah, I was a big boy. So from like 20, like end of 20, my 20s.
So sorry.
Yeah, go on.
What made you stop training?
Just because I thought I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere much with boxing. I'm not. Yeah. I'm done with rugby. I wouldn't say I gave up. It was more the case of I'll do something when something else when I find it, kind of thing. And at that time, the boxing club, Kafil, some of the lads started dropping out, and it was getting very quiet, and nobody was turning up, nobody was training. It was like, just gave up on it. So didn't train properly. So I was still doing fitness stuff. Like, have you ever heard of that Insanity?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, Insanity, like Sean T. I did that a little bit. So I was still trying to stay fit, but like I was eating a lot. I wasn't looking after myself. I was like second year of uni, then the studies get in, and you're like, okay, third year, get it out of the way. And then I left. Then I went into security. Even though I was in security, like as a security guard from the age of 18, I went into like, I used to do more doors then on clubs and stuff. But after I left uni, because I couldn't get a job, because at that time it was like 2010, 2013.
Okay.
So the recession period, nobody was giving out training contracts. It was like, oh my God. And it was one of them where if you've got a friend or someone who has got a solicitor's firm or something, they can give you a training contract. And I tried a few places. One of my uncles is a solicitor at Walters and Plaskett. But again, he's not in a high enough position where he could push me through, kind of thing. And he told me from the beginning, he goes, look, son, do it. It's really good. It's a good degree. You learn a lot of things. And I do. And I did. I mean, learned a lot in terms of how to understand law or the legal system and how it's created and how it functions. Let's just keep it like that. So did that. Didn't do so then I decided I'm not going to waste another year doing my LPC, getting in more debt.
Yeah.
Because before you do that, you got to do your LPC before you get a training contract. And I was like, nah, don't look like I'm doing this. So then I thought, you know what? I'm going to have some time off, work, have some time off from studying and stuff, see what I can do. So I did security for a little bit. I hated it. Like, I can't sit there for 12 hours. And even if you're patrolling in between, I can't do it. 12-hour shifts, 48, 50 odd hours a week. It may seem like, you're earning money, but there's no progression. And I'm a big advocate of progression and progress. Like, if every day is the same, like, or you haven't done anything to make something better, like you've wasted a day or you wasted a week. To be fair, I'm more about that in the last few years, but I've always been that secret. Like, I don't want to just do the same thing over and over again, and especially if it's not taking me anywhere. So then I got in touch with so now I've done my security, done my law degree. So I thought, what can I do? So I got in touch with an old teacher of mine who was running the special education needs division at a local school, SEN. She was the SEN lead, Senko they call them. And I had a good relationship with her. And I just messaged her. I'm like, look, was thinking about getting into the teaching trade because I thought I looked at the public, like what I can get into with my degree. So, I was applying everywhere, graduate schemes, anything you can think of.
Yeah. But how do you go from a law degree to teaching computer science?
I'm going to tell you now. So, TA, so basically went in for an interview with her. She was like, look, we need a TA, we need a male role model, we need a male, because it was full of females, that department was, because we need a male, it'll be really good for us. And obviously, funnily enough, it's a school that I went to as a student as well.
Okay.
And now this school has got a lot of Asian kids as well. And they took me on as like a male role model. I can speak to them, see what comes of it. So I did that for a bit. I was like, okay, I don't mind giving teaching a go. And my main motivation was they were giving government bursaries out at the time for computer science. I think it was 20 or 25 grand. So I thought, I'll do it. If I don't enjoy it, like I'm still getting a wage, it's good money, I won't do it. But I'll do the year, push through it, see what happens. Did my PGC, I was like, nah, I ain't doing this, bro. Like, I ain't all this, like, it's jumping through hoops and taking box exercises for no reason. I'm like, you could be asking teachers to do something so much better with their time, but all you want them to do is make these stupid lesson plans and do X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, don't do this, please. So I was like, okay, nah. So I decided I'm not going to do that. I enjoy the teaching part. I love it. Like, you've seen me teach classes in Jiu-Jitsu and stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good vibe. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking teaching. I'm not knocking the profession. I'm knocking what they make you do. The profession itself is lovely. I learned a lot. How to engage with students, how to plan lessons. I do that. I actively do that stuff when I'm teaching now in Jiu-Jitsu, my grappling lessons. Like, mentally, these are the kind of things I'm taking in my head. Like, okay, have I done this? Have I done that? I need to plan this. I need to plan that. Most of the time, I don't have to write anything. It's in my head. And I haven't got a problem differentiating or changing things in the middle of a lesson. If I'm thinking, okay, this isn't working, I'm not going to push through and be like, oh, this is exactly how it's got to be done. I've got to make it so everybody's learning. So I was like, okay. So again, this was a decision. I thought I got some money in the bank, and I went and did the Europeans. So I was a white belt.
Okay.
And I went and did the Europeans in the blue belt division. First fight.
Oh, shit.
Yes. So I was a white belt. And I've been winning competition up to this. I was about 2 years in.
Okay, yeah.
And
is that 2 years of constant
yes,
dedication to it?
Yeah,
okay.
Constant dedication to it at this point. So, first few comps, my first comp, I got a gold in no-gi and a bronze in gi. So, I was winning from the beginning. I was medaling and winning them divisions. So Chris was like, okay, it's up to you. Let's try out the blue belt division. Like, what's the glory in winning a white belt Europeans? Like, even blue belt, like, it's not massive deal, but it looks good. So, all right, no worries. Went over there. Great match, first match. I lost 2-0 on a takedown, but on the floor, the guy wouldn't get near me. He wouldn't engage with me on the floor. And I was like, okay, so I've got to this level and I've given this a good go. I'm not really a blue belt. This guy, Polish lad, big youth. Like, I was still big, but I was fat. Like, I wasn't muscly or anything. And I couldn't take him down, couldn't do a lot of things to him, but he couldn't do a lot of shit to me. And when he took me down, it was a mistake. It was literally, I couldn't hear Chris. I just took it in my head. And then I was like, boom, I was on the floor. So I was like, okay. Out of luck, maybe, whatever. Skillfully, I thought, okay, I'm here. This is good. So maybe I can make a run of it. And that was like April. The Europeans were, this is coming to the end of my teaching year. So like end of July is when it ends. So I was like, okay, got back. Decided, I thought, because in teaching you have to give like, I think 3 months notice kind of thing. Like a term.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to make a decision. What am I going to do? So then I decided I'm going to apply for my PT course. I had a few contacts. The gym I'm working for, Coliseum.
Yeah.
One of the lads put me through to a PT course provider. And then whilst I was finishing off my PGC year, I was also doing my PT course.
Okay.
So getting that qualification. So I finished in July, and then in June or July, and then in like mid-August, I'd got my qualification for my PT as well. So I thought, I've got a bit of money, I'm going to chill out a bit. So I chilled out a bit. And then I started working for these guys, Coliseum, in like November, December time of that year, 2017. And then from there, it was like trying to build my business, carry on training full time, concentrate on my recovery and all the stuff that comes with it. So yeah, that's how I went from computer science to now what I'm doing.
The level of hard work that you've had to put in from obviously white belt to blue belt to purple, brown, now black.
Yeah.
Has that changed over time, or has that stayed consistent throughout?
So from white to blue, like between my belts, I've got like 2 years in each of them. 1.5 in one of them maybe. But from white to blue, I was obviously working as a teacher, so I wasn't training full time.
Yeah.
But once I did leave teaching, I slowly built my conditioning up, and I lost weight, and I was entering competitions. I was getting into pay-per-view cards. So as a blue belt,
Okay.
as a blue belt, I was on Grapple Fest. I was competed a lot of white, competed a lot of blue, and then I've got my purple belt. And a fun fact, I never competed a purple belt. I got my purple. I got injured. I was still training and stuff, but I wasn't fit enough to compete. Then the pandemic hit.
Okay.
Yeah, around that time when I wanted to compete, it was like, oh,
Sorry, a purple belt. Was that during the pandemic?
not during. I was a purple belt like October 2020 till then.
Okay.
But obviously, I wanted to compete as soon as it hit like January. I wanted to compete as a purple belt, and then it was because I was ready. You know, I got over my injuries. I had some other personal issues going on. I was like, okay, now I'm ready to compete. But I never stopped training. That's one of the things I've never done. Like, it doesn't matter what's happened, other than the injuries, a few injuries that have kept me out for like a month.
What was the big injury that you had?
So at the time, my ear, if you look at the back of it, it was from a tournament. It kind of like, because it's solid, like your ears are floppy, and if somebody that pulls down on them, they just flop. Because mine is solid, or cauliflower ears are solid, if you pull them, it tears from the back. So my ear got caught, and as I went for a takedown, and it like ripped from behind.
Shit.
Yeah. So
wait, your ear tore off?
Not tore off, but like it was like, I'll show you the scar later, but you'll see like it tore. So there was a gap in between my ear and my head. It was in the middle of a match. I was winning the match like 8-0, and then the referee was like, I can see blood. And it was a female referee as well. And she's like, okay. I was like, who's bleeding? She's like, you're bleeding. I can see. I'm like, all right. Then came over, the paramedic did. And she's like, yeah, we're going to have to call it. I'm like, no, tape it up. Yeah, so it's not floppy. And I'm going to carry on. I'm going to win this. I don't want a DQ loss. She's like, no, you got to go get it checked out. I was like, oh my God. So I got a DQ loss on that. So yeah, that kind of, once that happened, so then that took a while to heal. But I was still training. I had a head guard on.
Yeah.
Training very carefully though, because I didn't want it to pop open again. But that was a big fear in my head. I thought if I go for takedown and stuff, that happens again, I'm done. So that took me a long time to get over. I tore my LCL on my left leg.
Okay.
Just the things just happened on the bounce. And I was like, okay. Again, I didn't have the thought that I'm going to give up on this. I was like, these are just things. This is part of the territory. Got to do it. Got to get through it. Just get it done. And just carried on training. And then when I felt I was ready, pandemic hit. And I was like, oh no. And I thought, now I have to wait till my pandemic's over, compete, and then get my brown belt. So I was like, okay, what are we going to do? So pandemic hit, purple belt. Couldn't train then. It was like everything's closed. Then the small times when it was open through lockdowns.
Just leave it. Yeah.
The time we were open through lockdowns, we were getting training in. And then we had a few visitors coming in, people like Mark Goddard, the UFC referee.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got in some roles with him, and some people, some of his friends who were like black belts and rolling. And we rolled with them, and they were like, they were impressed with the level I was at, and some of the other guys. And Chris was obviously asking them to assess us, because it was like, it's been a while. Some of us haven't competed, but he wanted to like us to move forward to keep us going. Because again, look, if you're in one position for too long and you think you're not making any kind of progress, or your coach thinks you're not making any progress, it can be quite demotivating.
Yeah.
But Chris, Chris, he's always thinking about the other person, like, and always trying to push him. So he asked around any people I rolled with, other local black belts or high level belts that I rolled with. They were like, okay, what this guy like? So then he decided to promote me, gave me my brown. Again, that was another surprise. I was like, okay, I don't think I'm ready for this, but yeah, whatever. So I got my brown. I think it was October 2020. And then, again, pandemic, we were going through the tier stuff in the lockdowns.
Yeah.
And then, when everything calmed down and the competitions opened back up, and then I started competing as a brown belt again. And then competed, and I got my black belt. I don't even know the date, mate. It was about 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, that's my journey in shortcut.
The difference from a purple belt to a brown belt, what's that like?
So, in general, they say that a purple belt is someone who knows the game, but they got to build their own game now. So they got to make it personal to themselves. And basically, brown means you're good enough, but you're not good enough to be a black belt. That's what they usually say. So, in Chris's eyes and Preet Mickelson from Estonia, in his eyes, and all the guys who were involved in promoting us, because it's not just one person, because then it look a bit dodgy, like, you know what I mean? Everybody's just promoting each other, because that happens a lot. It just happened recently in America, like guys promoting themselves, like, oh yeah, okay. You can get beat up somewhere, mate.
You've got to tell me who it is afterwards.
Yeah. It's like it's on Instagram, a page called McDojo Life Exposed Him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's a full video on him, like what they, it was a guy and he had 2 wives and he promoted them and they promoted him, and it's like it's his own blend of jiu-jitsu, but he calls it Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's a lot. There's a lot of phony people out there. Like, this kind of stuff would work in the 70s and 80s. It doesn't work anymore because of the internet. People look at it like it happened in the UK. If any time there's a dodgy club, people go and they call it dojo storming. They go in there and they roll with them, and because the mats never lie.
Yeah.
Like, you know yourself, you do jiu-jitsu, the mats never lie. You can say to someone, I've been doing X, Y, Z years, but you roll with them, you kind of get a gist of how good they are. And I forgot what it was.
now you're talking about the difference.
Oh, difference, yeah, purple, yeah. So, yeah, I think in Chris's head, he saw that I had a game, but I couldn't use it in competitions because there was no competitions and I had nobody to fight. But obviously, me and him were rolling. I was rolling with other people. And it was like, okay, he's got a game, but let's give him that push. I'm just thinking from his perspective. Let's give him that push. Because he probably saw me slowing down, maybe. Maybe he thought, okay, it's a pandemic. And he's training, but he's not putting as much in. And, as a coach, you see that. You see when someone who's going at a certain level or a pace, and then they start slowing down for whatever reason, if they haven't got an injury, you're like, okay, what's the reason behind this? So then, I got my brown, and then I was like, okay. So I think, the main difference is I think he wanted to push me, and I think he was happy. I think he didn't want to say to me, but I think in his head he thought he's got a game. Now we need to just stick to it rather than just keep, because I was chopping and changing a lot of things. Yeah. And he could see that in my roles, because I was doing something and I was like, okay, this doesn't work, try something else. And he would say to me like, look, it works for you, it works for your body, give it some time. And I wasn't.
Okay.
And I think when he gave me my brown, to me it was like, okay, he thinks that my game suits me. I just need to now refine it. And he was right, because since brown belt, I haven't changed my game. But as at purple, I changed my game 3-4 times. That's
so interesting.
Yeah. And I've thought about this as well. I was like, okay, because I couldn't get past why he would promote me without me competing. And I always thought, I said to him, Chris, this is going to bring up question marks in the future. He was like, don't worry, they can roll with you and they'll find out. I was like, okay, so if you trust me, then that's cool. I'm happy with that.
When I had Chris on, one thing he told me was that the difference between a brown belt and a black belt is that a black belt is the same as a brown belt, but the black belt has built his legacy, well, his or her legacy.
Yes.
What do you want your legacy to be, or what do you think your legacy is at the moment?
So, at the moment, I would say, because in terms of Asian black belts or Pakistani black belts, I think there's about 10 in the world, and I think I'm the 10th or 11th one.
That's amazing.
And obviously, the history behind Pakistan, Kashmir, and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Kashmir.
Oh, okay.
So my family's from Kashmir, but obviously because it's controlled by Pakistan, our side is, and the other side's controlled by India, we say Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they would probably say India as well on the other side. So in terms of Kashmir, there's no jiu-jitsu there anyway. So I am the first Kashmiri black belt.
That's so cool.
So yeah, when I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So in terms of legacy up to now, I think I was thinking about this the other day that I want to go over and I want to try and get some people involved so I can get something going there as well in Kashmir side. You know, if there's people interested in grappling, you know, just give them something to work with and hopefully they can build something. So I've got a few ideas. I've got a few people to speak to and see what we can come up with. But other than that, locally, again, people who've seen me from where I was, where I came from, you know, being involved in the stuff I was involved in, and then now, like, then going into teaching and then this and that. I mean, everything I've kind of gone into, I would like to like think to myself that I've achieved what I could.
Yeah.
But with jiu-jitsu and MMA, I'm not done. I'm nowhere near done. Because like I'm shifting slowly into MMA as well, but I'll still be doing jiu-jitsu. Like that is still my main focus. No-gi jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I just want to be like, I just want kids out there to look and see, look, you can make something of yourself. Yeah, we're all given different cards. We're all dealt different cards. We just got to make the best out of them. You know, it's very easy to start throwing them away. You know what I mean? Not everybody gets aces and kings and queens and whatever you need to win a pack, but doesn't matter. They still have to deal with them properly. You have to play to what you're given. And that's in any situation. Whenever I'm in any situation, I'm thinking, okay, this is what I've got and this is what I can do and this is what I've got to deal with and this is the only thing I can use. And you just crack on with it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Just crack on.
Yeah. Coming into, obviously, like you were saying, you did law at university.
Yeah.
Then you did teaching computer science, teaching computer science, and then obviously MMA and BJJ. You strike me as someone who kind of throws all of your being into whatever you do.
Yes.
Like, what drives you? What motivates you? And like, what do you do when it gets difficult? Because I can't imagine that it's plain sailing like 100% all the time.
Yeah. So when I was talking about my personal issues, like, so this is when my purple belt period. In my life, I never experienced. So I was 27. I remember it very well because it was a major part in my life. There's a lot of family issues previously in my family, like with my dad and stuff. And then, funnily enough, when at the time it was cool, like when stuff happened, when my mum was divorced and stuff, nothing kind of fazed me because I've always been that kind of person. Like, it's nothing, you just crack on. But for some reason, and I don't know why, maybe it's because I had a bit of time and I just went into thinking. I don't know. And this is before the pandemic. I just like, I went through something that I've never been through before. And I was like, okay, I need to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to deal with it. So slowly as time went by, I was just trying to find different ways of engaging the brain and why the brain does this, that, the other. And just finding different ways of dealing with the issues that I was having. And this is where, like, I don't like doctors because they just give you shit. If you go into them, they just give you like flipping antidepressants. They're like, they're just there to put you to sleep, not to fix anything. And it's like, you know, you're not doctors. You're not explaining to the person, like, they can't get to the root problem.
Yeah.
You're just putting them to sleep. And it's like just dragging on for them. And it gets to a stage where they're like, the drugs take over them. And this is why you see such a high rise of suicides and stuff, and people, you know, just trying to kill themselves. It's like, it's not good at all. So, yeah, I was like, okay, I got over that slowly. I would say it took me about 2 years. And then I was like, okay, I just woke up one day. I was like, okay, I'll fix my head now. I fixed it. Because I was just trying things, like trying different things and like, what's going to work. And it was like, okay, nobody's coming to help you. Yeah. You got to deal with this yourself.
Yeah.
Stop being a little bitch. Seriously, like, as much as people say, like, yeah, they try to be this, there's a lot of this soft attitude of these things around these things these days. And I know if some things work for some people and they don't work for others, like, you can't put a blanket statement on one thing, but you can't deny that for a lot of people, just literally looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, stop being a bitch, wake the hell up, nobody's coming to help you, you're wasting your life away, get on with it. And I was like, okay. And then after that, mate, solid in there. Yeah. And and I'll go into competing again because this had a lot of impact as well in my competing. So my first competition back as a brown belt, let me get this right now. It was against a very well, highly established brown belt, one of the best in the UK. It was like, look, I'm the kind of person who doesn't care. I'll take anything on. And I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So we had a rules, no submission, submission only rule set match. And the only way you could win is submission. If there's no submission, it's a draw. But in the match, I dominated. I was on top. I got the takedowns and stuff. But again, in the rule set, it's a draw. It's cool, whatever. Then at that time, it didn't this mindset didn't affect me at that time. But then I did like 3 fights in a row every week, and then I did a competition the week after. I think it was the British Open in Gi.
Okay.
Yeah, I got silver in that, but I was not myself. Like even when Chris looked at me, he goes, "You do not roll like this. You were completely frozen. You were trying not to get subbed rather than impose your own game." And the other match was similar to that when I fought that brown belt, and then I was like, okay, I don't know, there's something going on here, and I couldn't, like me personally, like the blue belt killer I was, like Chris used to say, that wasn't coming in, that guy wasn't waking up, and I couldn't get him to kick in, and I was like, okay, something needs to change here. I need to like build something, and this is where like I changed my online persona, so I changed it to El Hefe, because like around my friends and family and stuff, I'm known as the guy who runs things, like, you know, I'm the boss. That hence the Spanish moniker. Chris has got the villain El Vilao, and I thought, okay, let's have something Spanish is quite cool. So I was like, okay, I need to separate who I am in everyday life and who I am on the mat, and I think that's going to work. But that was after. Now this is the third fight. It was Owen Livesey. He's one of the best grapplers in the UK, and now he's fighting big names. And we had a 15-minute sub-only match.
Yeah.
And this guy was nailing everyone. I was literally put in there as a scapegoat. They were like, look, a guy from down south is coming up, and, because he was getting ready for the ADCCs, like the Olympics of Jiu-Jitsu or grappling. And they were like, okay, getting him ready. And I don't know whether he agrees, but I give him probably his toughest match of ever, because, afterwards he was like, mate, it was a good match, because we went for 15 minutes. And I think he had 1 submission attempt.
Okay.
A really good match. He's very high accomplished in judo. He's like a gold medalist in Commonwealth Games and stuff. Yeah, wow. Very, very high level. And then I was like, okay, so I did that little stint of competitions. I was like, okay, cool. We need to fix this now. So went away, created all this persona, blah, blah, blah. And then, again, I competed a few months later, January, February time, and I still couldn't get that guy to kick in. I fought big guy, people with good records behind them. And I lost on like points here and there. I was like, okay, no problem. But I could see some of my techniques and some of the stuff's working. And Chris helped me a lot with this, because he was like, okay, you need to find a way to get this in. So then I had another competition, and I managed to get it in. I was like, okay, I'm winning now. And then the last match of brown belt, which I had in November, that's when I really found out how to get this guy in. So I'm like, I went on that mat, and if you watch that match, I really imposed my will. And it was like, okay, now I've kind of figured out how to bring that mindset onto the mats now. So realistically, I can't wait to compete next again.
Yeah.
Because I've managed to do that twice now, and it's gone better from the first time. So I can't wait how that persona is going to come out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Does that really help, like having that El Hefe persona?
Yeah, big time. Like even now when I'm training, it's like, or when it's time to train, I'm driving down. Like before, I didn't think about it too much. It was just, I'm going training. But now it's I'm going training. That mode comes on. I just kick that in and mentally I just leave everything else, and that's all I concentrate on. Things I need to work on, and especially when I'm in comp mode. So I call it comp mode when I'm getting ready for competition. Like a few weeks before, it's like full on pace, and I've got it right in my head. I think I've got it right now. So we'll see what the future brings.
Are you going to compete in the ADCC?
My intention is to eventually go and do the ADCCs one day. Yeah. That's
that'd
like
be amazing.
For my no-gi goal. My one of my biggest goals is to go and compete at the ADCCs.
Yeah.
And to be fair, all the training that we're doing the last year and a half is around the ADCC rule set.
Okay.
But like, I'll still do nogi competitions, even though I'm not a big fan of the rule set.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait, is the ADCC fully gi?
No, nogi.
Okay, no gi. Yeah.
But I'll still do the other competitions. Not a big problem.
What was the other big competition as well?
You got the IBJJF, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the one.
So that's gi and nogi.
Okay, yeah.
But like, I'm not too bothered about winning an IBJJF title. Like, a lot of people put a lot of, they put it on a high status. To some people it is, to some people it isn't. But for me, the ADCCs top everything. If you win the ADCCs, you are top dog. Not to say the IBJJF guys aren't, but like, there's a rule set thing, and there's a lot of refereeing decisions which, because of the rule set, can go one way or the other. Like, I've been like, there's a term in Jiu-Jitsu where they call it being gringoed. So it was like, the Brazilian referees would give the Brazilian guy a win or a point when they didn't really get it against a white guy.
Yeah.
I've been gringoed a few times, but it's one of them, like, again, if something like that happens to me, I'm not being a bitch about it. I'm like, okay, I should have done a better job, and I should have finished the match, or I should have done X, Y, Z. I put the onus on me rather than, blaming somebody else.
Yeah.
And it does happen, and it will always happen. But you got to get over it.
Yeah. Does that come back to this mindset where you take accountability for the things that you can control yourself? Obviously, you can't control what the referee's going to do.
Yes.
And it's completely on you to make sure that you get that submission and you make them tap out.
100%. I agree with you on that. And it's just, you got to sit down and be like, look, because if you're blaming others, you're never going to get anywhere. I'm not just
100%.
talking sport, I'm talking everyday life. You blame other people for your own mistakes, like, you're not going to get anywhere. You got to take responsibility of your own actions. And like, I'm not the most strictest or the most disciplined person in the world. Like, I chill out a bit, but what needs to be done gets done.
What does El Hefe do to chill out?
I just go out, meet some friends. Go out, have some food, watch a film, normal stuff.
Okay, cool. So traveling with Chris and doing all these seminars abroad.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, again, this is another thing. It wasn't a goal or anything. I never thought I could, I never really thought about it too much when I was in my early days in grappling. But as time came on, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll be able to do some seminar somewhere. I'll be able to teach. But thankfully to Chris, it's all thanks to Chris, me getting to America and Amsterdam and all that stuff. It's like, he's helped me a lot, not just from a jiu-jitsu side, but from a business side as well. In terms of PTs and getting in people to have privates. I've been doing jiu-jitsu privates as a blue belt.
Okay. Well, since you were a blue belt?
Yeah. So when I left teaching and I decided I'm going to do PTs and stuff, the only reason I could survive in the PT industry is because the niche that I had was grappling. So I just doing fitness clients or bodybuilding clients, I would have probably left it. Or I would have had to do another job on the side. You know what I mean? I do anyway. I do security, the doors.
Well, still?
Yeah, I still do that once a week. It's a bit of extra. Right, like, for example, right now, if we weren't in a cost of living crisis, I won't be doing it because I would just be training all the time and just use that time to chill out maybe. But because it now pays for that extra fuel or 2 days of electricity at home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I have to do it. Not that I want to do it right now. Not that I want to do it. I have to. But there's been stages where I've done it for a bit, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do it for a bit because I've got a good relationship with my boss on that side. He's also my co-host in our podcast, The Real Pod. So we've got a good working relationship. He's also my cousin, so we get on quite well. He understands me. He's helping me a lot now in my career, getting sponsors, and he's doing a lot of background stuff for me. We've got a nice little team going.
Yeah.
So again, I'm very thankful to him and Chris. Like, Amsterdam, America, we went first. So last year, and
sorry, one sec. Can you make sure it's recording? Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Sorry, go on.
So yeah, America. So again, like, things happen. And this is another thing, like, you can't control everything, and you've got to, like, sometimes just have hope and things will fall into place. It's weird how the universe works. So yeah, last year we've got a friend in America called Charles who's come over here before and he's done seminars and stuff. And Chris has met him through BJJ Globetrotters. And so he's got a DVD with BJJ Fanatics. So people who don't know what BJJ Fanatics is, they are one of, or if not the biggest instructional maker in the grappling world. And they do kickboxing instructionals and they do all sorts of instructionals. But like for Jiu-Jitsu, they are massive. And for them to have us, it was like, what? Like, why do they want us to?
That was really sick.
That was mad. So we managed to get our link through that, and they liked what we did. So we sent them a little sample over. So that look first, send us a little sample what you guys do. Obviously, because a lot of people who don't know, the blend of jiu-jitsu we play is kind of new because it's very like not defensive based, but we concentrate on defense and then move on to that kind of thing. A lot of people don't get that, but it's working. Let's say that. So then we sent them a sample, and they were happy with what we showed and how we taught or how we did it, and they were like, "Okay, cool, come over." So Chris had been to America before anyway. He did like a seminar tour, I think once or twice before, maybe. He did one with Charles, I know that, where they did it together.
Yeah.
So he thought, okay, they're calling us over, so why not do a seminar tour as well? So what he did was he made his own seminars, whatever, how he planned the journey across the West Coast, West Coast, whatever it is, I don't know, Boston, all the way down New York, Washington, and all that. Yeah. So he planned that. We were like, look, we'll get the Fanatics DVD out of the way, and then we had a few gyms to go to where we were trying this stuff. And mate, when I heard America, I was shitting myself because I was like, okay, UK grappling, the level we've seen, like I've fought the top guys and, you know, I've survived. Like in America, I'm going to get smashed. Like, because they are the meta. Like on this side of the world. Yeah, on the west side of the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this may be a different experience. So we went up, did our DVD, got that out of the way, went to a few different gyms, went to Ryan Hall's gym. That was a wicked experience because Ryan Hall, you know, his guys are legit. And we did what we needed to do, and they were like, okay, you know, we made a good link with them as well. So it was a great trip. After that, whilst I think maybe after when I got back, we had this Whoopass camp in Amsterdam, and the guy who runs that, Raul, he's linked through us through Preet. So Chris knew him anyway through the Globetrotters thing. And again, Chris put my name forward. Like, look, get this guy on, give him a chance, let him do a class, see what you think. So went over, and bear in mind, I didn't know any of these guys. I was like, the first day, I was like just sitting there thinking, why am I here? Who are these people? How am I going to do this? And thankfully, my class was the day after. I thought, okay, I'll get it out of the way, and then hopefully, you know, these guys will start. We'll get a nice connection or something. You know, we'll be all right. So I did my class, and they loved it, and he loved it as well. Raul did. I was like, oh, okay. And then just attitudes just changed. It's like, okay, we're friends now. We're getting on. So thankfully, he's invited me over again now in May.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're doing another camp in May. So me and Chris both have been invited over as instructors. So we're going down to that. And literally today, I don't know if Chris is if he wants me to say this, but we're going to America. Like the date has been confirmed, so we're filming another Fanatics DVD.
That's so cool.
So we're going over in March, which has been confirmed. So yeah, we're going again, man.
Is that going to be a defensive one again?
We haven't completely decided. It will be, obviously, it'll come off from the last one. So yeah, we'll see how we're going to put it together. So the last one we did, again, we had to be careful because Preet's got a lot of, all his instructionals and stuff are his stuff. Yeah. So we didn't want to cross into the way what he's showing. So we thought, how do we blend it into how we do it? And thankfully, it didn't look like it was an exact copy of what Preet's done in his. So I think, again, now we've been working on a lot of things. So, you know, we'll go over, we'll show something. Yeah. We'll plan it out.
So, rolling with Imanari.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck was that like?
Imanari. So, like, Chris says to me, like, Chris was shitting me up, man. Like, he was like, oh, if he just grabs your ankle, you know, he's just going to yank on it. And he's going to, you know, he just puts everything into it straight away. He don't give you a chance. I'm like, I want to go home with my legs intact, like, you know what I mean? But then I was like, I've rolled with good high-level leg lockers. So, you know, it'll be good, but we'll see. Yeah. And I have to respect him. You have to respect anyone who you're against, especially legends. You're like, you know,
Yeah. Hold on. Was this before or after he fought Mikey?
when did he fight Mikey? What date was it?
I can't remember what the
I
date
think it was before.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was before. Yes, definitely before.
Yeah.
Because it was last August.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think he fought Mikey probably October, November time, maybe.
Yeah.
But that was a good match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember seeing that match, and Mikey immediately went to the floor.
Yeah.
Like, the moment the match started, he went to the floor. He was like, I went to the floor because otherwise he's going to get me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, what was that like?
So yeah, and then he's come in, he's done his class, and
Okay.
yeah, he's done it. He's done his class, so he's taught his Imanari rolls in
Yeah.
20 different versions that he's got, rolling and grabbing in legs certain ways, which is quite cool. But again, in practicality, some of it works, some of it doesn't. It's one of them. But I enjoyed it. He doesn't speak a word of English, but he managed to get a 2-hour class done. Like,
That's insane. So, wait, does he have like a translator with him?
yeah,
or?
he has a guy, but again, his English, like, if you had to rate it out of 10, you'd probably give it 2 or 3. It's like, okay, but we managed to do the class.
Yeah.
I mean, he just nods his head all the time. Yeah, and it's like, okay. So yeah, we had a roll, we had a little play, and I gave him my leg once or twice just to feel the grip. I was like, okay, the same. And you can, when he grips your leg, you feel that, you feel it's a really strong grip, and you can tell he's been doing it years. There's some real good experience going on here.
Yeah.
And then the second time I was like, nah, you ain't having my foot, like, you know what I mean? And at one point we had a nice little exchange where I nearly had him, and he was like kicking to get out of my heel hook, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a good roll. And we had a little, well, I want to say chat, but it was predominantly me talking and him just going, yeah. I'm like, he ain't understand a word of this. And he's like, this guy's just been talking for a minute, and he's just looking at me going, yeah. It's quite funny, to be fair. But good guy, man. Really good guy.
Yeah. Can you, again, like, obviously he's been doing it for years. Can you kind of, just from grappling with him, can you like feel that level of discipline and like dedication he's had to the craft?
Yeah. You can tell. Like, it's hard to explain, especially to people who don't understand like what grappling or how it feels. But just grips, the way he's gripping you, and he was relaxed. It wasn't like he's coming at me at full intensity and trying to rip me apart. Just dead relaxed, laying back. At one point, I think there's a picture of us where he's got one of my leg. I've got his leg, but I'm also got my leg in a position where if he tried to yank it, I'll just kick out. But we're both sitting there like this. He's sitting there like this.
Yeah, I remember seeing that video. Yeah.
I was just sitting there like this, smiling at each other. So it was a pretty chilled out roll. But you can only do that when you're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've seen yourself. If you spazzing and kicking out everywhere and just elbowing people, it's never a good thing, is it? But yeah, he was just chilled out. And again, he was just doing what he's good at, leg locks. Imanari's known for blasting through people's knees and ankles and breaking them. So he was just playing, messing around. And when I watched him roll with other people as well, again, nice and easy, but he was just tapping them. He just grabbed their leg and
Yeah. Are you developing your own kind of style now? Like, have you kind of been playing around with something that no one else has been playing around with? Or can you tell me? I guess that's the question.
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not something nobody's ever seen, but it's just a mindset change in how grappling is taught, or jiu-jitsu to be specific.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with a lot of beginners that we've had coming through the doors and how quickly they're developing. And it's like, okay, this is the way forward, because some of these guys, like in 6 months, they are better than where we were blue belts. And it's mad. And it's not fair.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be mad, crazy good in a few years. And it's like...
Yeah, I think Ollie's probably going to be someone to watch out for.
He's a 16-year-old kid, man.
Mate, I didn't realise he was 16 until yesterday.
He's a 16-year-old kid, and now he's getting a bit of that man strength coming in as well. Right. And he's a problem,
Like, so when I first started BJJ, I think I was 2019, right? So I remember he was there when I first started, and he'd only been coming for a few months, and then I tore my knee and I was out for 2 years, and then I came back. I didn't recognize him because obviously he'd had a massive fucking growth spurt in that 2 years, and I remember thinking, oh my god, is that kid that was there? And it's insane, and obviously he's already got the
He is.
cauliflower ears like
Yeah.
building up. I think he's probably going to be a killer.
Yeah, that kid's
Right.
dedicated. Like, he trains, he goes school and everything, but he trains like a full-time athlete.
Yeah,
He's always in the gym. He's a mat rat. That's what we call him, or call people on the mat all the time. He's a mat rat. He's one of us. Like, he's like me. He's a mat rat.
yeah,
Every time I'm on the mat, he's on the mat. I'm like, this kid is going to be good. Other than an injury that keeps him out, like, he's there. And it's good to see. And I always say, like, I use him as an example with a lot of younger kids, 16-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds. Like, look, we got a kid, and he'll fuck you up, mate. Like, and you guys need to start respecting grappling, because there's still a lot of stigma or something out there where people do not respect it.
really.
Like, they'll watch it on TV and they think, that's easy. I mean, I had a beginner come in on Wednesday on one of my open mats, and he's like, it looks easy on TV. He was done within a minute, and this is like, he was not athlete, but a guy goes gym 4-5 times a week, nice built,
Yeah,
and he was done. And he was like, oh, I was like, yeah, mate, it looks easy watching it on TV, but when you're in there for 5 minutes or a round or 7 minutes or a round, like, it's the real deal. So yeah, there's still a lot of, I think MMA or the UFC and other organizations that want to do a good job of really building up. But again, there's a lot of ignorance behind it.
yeah. I think One Championship's done a pretty good job. Kind of.
Free cards, mate. Like, who puts on free pay-per-view cards?
Yeah.
Like, or not pay-per-view, but free amazing cards.
Yeah. Who do you want to kind of grapple with next? Like one of the big names that you want to.
Ooh, I would love to roll with Craig Jones, because he's recently had a lot of DVDs come out, like Power Bottom and just stand up and stuff. Shit, we've been doing for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Nobody was listening to us.
Yeah.
Playing Turtle and stuff like that. And I've been watching his roll. Like, they put a lot of good stuff on YouTube and on Instagram. I watch him roll. I'm like, oh, I'd love to roll with him. Like, that would be an amazing roll.
Have you rolled with Gordon Ryan or John Danaher yet?
No, not them. But I've rolled with Lachlan Giles.
Yeah.
I rolled with him as a blue belt. Our roll went on for like 25 minutes.
Who was the most difficult role that you've had with?
Chris.
Well, yeah. Sorry, apart from Chris.
Apart from Chris. Ooh, that's tough. I've had a lot of tough roles, man. Mark Goddard is a tough role. A lot of people think that he's just a big UFC referee. Like, he's a legit black belt. Like, he will murder you. Seriously, he's got hands like spades. He grabbed me and I was like, oh my God, my arm's going to bloody fall off. I had a really good role with him. Who else? Lachlan Giles. Like, again, he's not a massive guy. Like 80 kilo, 75, 80 kilo.
Yeah.
Brilliant role. Oliver Tarza, rolled with him. Amazing role. Preet. Have you ever rolled with Preet?
No.
Oh, mate, rolling with Preet is like, it's just a moving Rubik's Cube. It's mad.
I was gutted to miss the seminar.
This recent one.
Yeah, the recent one. Had exams and assignments due, so I was like, couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to come like the next time he's
I mean,
he's down.
I don't see him rolling much on seminars, but I think he rolls a like when he's out and other.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen him roll for a while now. He used to roll, but I think, I don't know, maybe age is catching up to him or something. But he just likes testing things now.
Yeah.
I think he's more of a coach.
Hey, do you do a lot of coaching as well?
Yeah. Not too much. Like, I got a small team.
Yeah.
So alongside me doing my PTs and stuff, I got a you could say job. It was a little kickboxing kung fu club, and they wanted grappling in there.
Yeah.
A local guy called Farak. He's been in the community, is well known. He does a lot for people, helps them out. He's been a kung fu instructor, and he was someone who was doing something which nobody in our community ever did. He's like a very highly rated kung fu instructor, won kickboxing competitions in the UK. So he was good from someone from Stoke, and he was, went out there and did something that people probably never expected him to do. Like, so he's got this little club in Shelton, and he brought me in to do to teach grappling. And I've got a good little group of guys now, and we're building a little nice team. I've got 2 blue belts now.
Yeah.
One is living the blue belt myth. So he got his blue belt and he hasn't been training since. Because that's the blue. Usually,
Yeah.
there's a joke with blue belts. Like you give him the blue belt, you'll never see him again. So he's one of them. And the second one is really trying. He's someone who's really adapted his game to how I've taught him.
Yeah.
And he's took it on board and he's winning competitions. Like he was a white belt winning blue belt competitions, and I was like, I have to promote this guy. I cannot keep him here because then I'll get blamed for like sandbagging. Sandbagging is a term where if you're better if you're a higher skill level but you're competing at the lower divisions, like you're sandbagging, you're cheating.
Okay.
Yeah? And it happens a lot. Now again, because of the internet, it's a bit less because promoters, they'll go on internet, put their names in and they'll work out how long this person's been training. But even like up to like say 2016, 2017, and I think maybe there was something last year as well where they found someone who was sandbagging, and they tell him, look, mate, you can't be in this division. We got pictures of you from like 10 years ago. You were training, or I didn't train for, that many years. Doesn't matter. Like you've got the experience, so you can't just say I'm a white belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to promoted him, and again, that team was very. They weren't consistent. I don't know whether they saw a future or they didn't see anything happening, kind of thing. But thanks to a local competition called Role Models, run by a good friend David Leatherby, who's also a UFC referee, and he does a lot refereeing for a lot of big MMA organizations. He's got a competition called Role Models, which he runs in Stoke, so it's good for them as well because they can go and it's local for them. They don't have to go out of town and compete, and it's quite fairly priced, and you get all the local Midlands clubs coming. It's a really well-run competition, and the best thing is it's only white and blue belts, so it's that beginner stage where you can get a lot of people in through the door.
Sorry, what's it called?
Role Models, ROLL. So it's a bit of play on words as well. So it's ROLLL, so
Okay.
and then models. So yeah, these guys, whenever they'd put a competition, one or two would go. But now, because they've seen me giving out blue belts and them guys doing well in competition, I've got a good group of 8 to 10 guys who want to compete regularly. So I'm kind of glad in that sense as well. Like I was building it, and with that as well, I got to a stage where I was thinking like, I'm just doing this, I'm getting paid for it, but I want to see a team. I want to see Faz. I call him Faz. I want to see Faz, being proud of what I've built for him. Like, you know what I mean? It's my team as well, but it's his. It's his club, and he's paying me a wage to run it. So now we've got that as well. I mean, it looks the way I'm sitting now, like in the next 5-6 years, like we've got a lot of big things coming. One or two of them might get to purple if they carry on training. If they train consistently, maybe brown. I'm competing, they're competing. Stoke, we're slowly trying to put it on the map. There's a lot of other local guys, local gyms who are doing well. It's Stoke win nothing, man. Like it's a tiny little city where there's nothing, and we're slowly building it, and people can't see this.
Yeah, I think like when I was in uni, I went to Staffordshire University, right?
Yes.
And Stoke is known mainly for being close to the big cities.
Yeah.
Like that's all it's been known for, like so far.
It's in between Birmingham and Manchester.
That's exactly it. That's literally what it's
county
been
lines,
known for. Yeah.
County lines.
Yeah. And it is really cool to be able to see Stoke being known for something else.
Yeah, like it's a tiny city, man. If we can start bringing out, even if we had one world class fighter coming out of Stoke, from a tiny city of like 250, 300,000, who nobody knows, who people only know as the Brexit capital, or about 20 years ago was known as one of the most racist places in the country. Like, can you imagine someone brown or black or an ethnic minority coming out as a world-class athlete?
Yeah.
And that would be amazing, and it would show, like, as much as there are barriers, because I'm like, one of the things that I grew up with is always about breaking barriers. Like, there's barriers, everybody has barriers, and if you have the mindset to break them, you'll find a way to break them. And that would be amazing, man. And that's like a vision of mine. It's like, whether I do it or whether somebody else does it, one of the other coaches in Stoke, like, that would be amazing, and I'd get behind it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, look, if there's someone you think in your club who can do it, I'll help. I want to help because, as much as I'm doing this for myself, I'm born and bred Stoke. I'm a Stokey. You know what I mean? So we got to put Stoke on the map, and that's the way I see it. As much as like I would consider like when we say back home, like that's where my parents are from.
Yeah.
But this is really home. As much as they want to kick us out from here, like we're born here, man. And we gotta represent.
Right. You're a second generation.
So my dad came here when he was 10, 11. He came to Birmingham. So my dad's from Birmingham. But he had a lot to do with Stoke because some of his family was in Stoke.
Yeah.
So my mum came over. So they got married, and my mum came over in 88, 89 maybe. She was probably 17, 18.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, she was young. And then 18 maybe. And then I was born in 91, like December 91. So, yeah. So second generation, is that second generation? Yeah.
Have you found that it's different being a second generation immigrant? Obviously, you're doing something that not a lot of immigrants like do, and even like doing a podcast is not something that would be encouraged or even understood. Like even now, my dad's been like, "Why are you doing this?" Like,
mate, so with my training and stuff, I had a lot of time where even up to like before my seminar, so before I went to America and Amsterdam, like there'd be the odd jibe here and there.
Yeah,
like, you're doing it. You're putting all this into it. What are you gonna get out of it? Blah blah blah. If you were a teacher, look what you've been doing. This, that, the other. But I was like, with me, like when somebody says something, or someone who I respect, I'm like, I won't say anything, but deep down, I'm like, I'm gonna prove it to you, mate. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I've always been about that from a young age. If somebody says something, I have to prove it. I have to go out and like whatever it takes. And now, like, funnily enough, it's like, okay, we can see where this is going. Very good, well done. It's like, well, if you'd have supported me from the beginning, then maybe that little breakdown I had when I was 27 probably wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't blame them. I believe it's a journey. It's part of a journey. You got to get over these things.
Yeah.
Because you're learning. It's a learning process. Life's all about learning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You got to learn how you learn, adapt to different things. I think adapting to different things is a major, major skill which a lot of people lack.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So I started my podcast about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And then, 2023, so 2021? Yeah, I think it was 2021. Yeah.
Mid-pandemic then?
Yeah, so I bought this house 2 years ago. Yeah, mid-pandemic, I just moved in and I'd started it and did a couple of episodes and then I kind of stopped because like life got in the way, and then similar to I don't know if it's similar or not, but I went through a lot of like personal issues as well, and then I kind of just stopped because obviously it's a hobby, and when your life's kind of going down the toilet, you don't, your hobbies take first hit.
Yes.
And then it's your career, and then it's your friendships and relationships and all of that. And coming out of that was a struggle, and I went to therapy to get kind of just help me through it, and that was one of the best things I've done for myself.
Yeah, it works. Like I didn't use it, but I had friends, one or two close people who would do a job of a therapy. It's like they talk to you and that.
Yeah.
But I agree, it works. It's one of them. It works for some people. It doesn't work for some people.
Yeah. One thing I realized after that was obviously when you're just like talking shit with your friends.
Yeah.
Your friends will give you advice and all of that stuff, but you're not the one realizing it. The thing about therapy for me personally was that my therapist kind of just took me on this journey where she made me realize like what was going on and all of that stuff, and that was a huge like change in mindset, change in like attitude and like everything for me now. And I genuinely believe it like changed my life, and it's a consequence of who I am as a person now is going through that therapy. And again, like after that, that's then the reason I started this up again. Like, kind of obviously, so okay, like I don't really care if it takes off or whatever, but I want to keep doing this because I enjoy just talking like just like one to one with
Yeah,
people
yeah,
and
yeah.
just like learning from people. Like it's really I really enjoy doing this. So coming off that topic, talk to me about Real Pods, your podcast that you just started.
Yeah, so the Real Pod, it's me, my boss, so Naj, his name is, and we've got a young lad who's our techie, who's doing our editing and
Yeah.
stuff, who I've had to teach. So
Okay.
this is why we've had a bit of a
Right.
delay in.
I appreciate that guy. All right, that's what I'm saying.
I do appreciate him, but like sometimes it's hard work when there's a checklist and he's like, look, get it done. But they go and find a different thing. Like something comes up and they're like, don't come back to it. They need a push all the time. Or he does anyway. And I'm like, look, kiddo, wake up. We've got to get this done. Because I think that's, again, my brother is also in that, like my youngest brother is in that similar age bracket.
Yeah.
17, 18, 19, 20. And that little generation, I don't blame them, but there's a lot of them who, through education or whatever, there's a lot of change in the way they're doing teaching in schools and just around society. There's been changes. They are not I wouldn't say same, but they don't. There's a lot of things missing that we have to teach them.
Yeah.
Which they out not their fault, which they haven't learned, and it's like, for example, responsibility. That's something which a lot of them haven't got. Getting the job done, that little fire. They're not. There's no discipline.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. When I was 17, 18, I wasn't crazy disciplined, but like there was nobody saying to me, "You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this." I was the eldest out of all the siblings, so
Yeah.
I had a huge, and this yourself. Like in Asian families, the eldest has the biggest responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
The youngest is always loved, and the eldest is always like, if anything happens, it's your fault. If one of the other siblings messes up, it's your fault somehow. And then again, I was looking after the family and all that stuff, but nobody was there to give me that drive or push. I had to do it. I knew if I want to get somewhere in life, I have to do it. And these kids, they haven't got that. And I'm like, look, we didn't have anybody. There wasn't a path for us. We had to create ours. We're giving you a path. All you got to do is walk on it. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me you can't do that, there's a problem. Major problem.
Yeah. How are you trying to instill that sense of responsibility and accountability in them?
Progress, mate. Well, like one word, progress. Are you progressing in what you're doing? Like, funnily enough, even them guys are now doing jiu-jitsu as well.
Okay.
So they're getting into the gym life. They're being more responsible.
Yeah.
I personally can see the change in our techie over the last few months.
Yeah.
But again, he needs that kick. You're like, come on, mate, get it done. But it's quite funny, man. Like, I sometimes sit there and think, I hope these kids thank us in the future for us being there for them, because they would have struggled, man. But just checklists. We give, like, with him, we'll give him like a list, like, look, this needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. Nothing crazy, just a few things. And just checking in with us. And we'll check in nearly every day. Every 2 days, we've got a group. We're like, look, have you managed to make progress? Like, and we give him targets. Like, so for our techie, we recorded our second one. We give him a target. We're like, look, this is your target. And we give him incentives. We're like, look, you reach your target, we're going to give you X, Y, Z. We're going to, give you some money, or because he has privates off me in a group, I'll give you a free private. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give him that drive, that incentive. And like, this is one of the most basic things which I think in modern society is missing. We could do with dogs and animals. Like, how do you get a dog to do something? You give him an incentive. You do with kids. Like, how do you get a kid to do something? You bribe them. You give him an incentive. So why aren't we doing it like when you're working, or why aren't we giving rewards? Like, why, for example, why do nurses have to go and protest to get a little wage rise in the cost of living crisis?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no incentive for them to do their job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say this. 19% seems a bit like too much.
Yes, I know. I agree with you. And also, I read another one with the train guys, the train drivers. They're on something like 60K a year.
Yeah, but okay. So the head of the union, Mick Lynch,
Yeah.
he's been around, and what that is true. Train drivers are on 60K plus, but the fact is that that's not what they're protesting for.
Yeah.
I think people seem to get this mixed up,
Yes.
and I think it's probably quite likely a political ploy by the
Yes.
government.
It's a media.
Yeah,
A lot of it's media.
Yeah, because one of the things that the government wants to do is reduce maintenance.
Yeah.
And
Driverless trains, ain't it, as well?
yeah, I'm not. I don't know about the driverless trains, but the maintenance is a big thing.
Yeah.
Where they, instead of doing preemptive maintenance, they just do health and safety based maintenance or something like that, and then also kind of making people redundant who I don't know what the technical term is, but there are people whose jobs are to help out, like disabled people who can't, blind people who can't, access like trains and stuff. Helping them out is like a responsibility as well, and those arguing for those people, that is what the protest is for. And you kind of have to give a bit of respect there, because they've been protesting since, I want to say, last May or June. And like they've been doing it like for so long.
I respect these people who protest because they're standing up for themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they're slowly trying to make like laws where they're trying to restrict as much protest as they can. Like one of the funniest ones was when I think it was last year, they were trying to push through, or maybe they pushed through, where they said, if your protest is making noise, you can't do a protest or something along them lines. I was like, what? What's the whole point of a protest?
Like, that's to me, that's one of the most like worrying things that can happen in a democracy. Like, obviously, you come from a Pakistani background, and I come from an Indian background as well. And I don't know about Pakistan, but India's moving so much more to an authoritarian regime.
Oh, I know. I follow India.
There was a documentary that got released like this week.
Yeah,
about,
the 2-part.
By the BBC about the current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. And it's a highly critical documentary, as it should be, because he's done an absolute shit job of running the country.
Oh, yeah.
And the government's just banned it completely.
They tried to, they tried to put ban on YouTube, Twitter and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, like...
But BBC, I'm surprised BBC still aired it.
Yeah, I mean, BBC's aired it, but they've banned it on social media.
Yeah.
From sharing it. And like, when a government starts taking that kind of steps, like, it's
there's something wrong in it.
It's so scary. And that's happening in the UK as well.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was, but there's been so many number of people who've been arrested for tweets.
Yeah.
Just tweets. And people who don't realize the value of freedom of speech are the ones who haven't experienced like loss of it.
If you don't have an opposition, like, you can get away with anything. Then you can make any law you want. You can do anything you want. Like, there has to be an opposition.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not, or whether you agree with them, like, there has to be an opposition. And if you're just silencing people, or like the modern day term is cancelling people, like, what are you actually doing? You're making it worse.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
You're trying to say to people, okay, if you don't agree with us, we can get rid of you.
Right.
We're going to shut your mouth, or we're going to find ways to shut your mouth.
And I think that's probably going to get a lot worse over the next few years.
Yeah.
Like, not in terms of cancelling, but the government's going to use all of these protests. And like, I completely hated the Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion protesters, but they have a right to protest because that's what a democracy is.
My problem with them people is, look, everything you're protesting is government policy. So why the hell are you standing or stopping on stuff and creating issues for the everyday person who's with you? I'm with these people. I'm sure you are, and I know a lot of people are. But when you are causing an inconvenience in someone's daily life, who have no power, we have no power.
Yeah.
You as protesters can see we have no power. So what are you trying to do? You're interrupting public services. You're interrupting people's convenience, and they can't get about. And some of them I think have died as well. Like one guy fell from a big bridge or something, like he was protesting, or he hurt himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
sticking themselves with glue. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Go do it outside Parliament, or go do it outside the politicians' houses who you don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think the government's going to use this as a ploy to take away the rights that what few rights we have
Yes.
remaining. Because I mean that already happened. Like the bill that the police and crimes bill that got passed. No one knows what's in it,
No.
but a lot of the stuff in it has to do with protesting. You have to get permission from the police to protest.
Yes.
What the fuck is that all about? You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, but people don't really see all of the shit that's going on, because obviously, like, what people really care about is being able to put food on the table and, making sure that you can put heating on and, like, you can fill your car up with petrol.
Yes.
But like, all of this stuff's like going on behind the scenes, and like I feel like the next few years are going to be a absolute shit show.
Oh yeah. We're on a big roller coaster, mate.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, they found the sweet spot. They know how many people give a shit, and they know how many people don't give a shit. And I can't put a number on it, but most people don't give a shit. Right now, they don't, because it's not affecting them as much. It's not affecting their pocket as much. Like, if you wanted to hurt someone, I'm not talking physically, like if you really wanted to give someone pain, like most people these days, all you got to do is affect their pocket and they'll whimper. They can't live without money. Whereas there's people out there, people like me, who don't give a shit about money. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, he drives a nice car, he's got big houses. Like, yeah, I couldn't care less. That's for my family. You know what I mean? Like, money's money. It comes and goes. But the amount of onus modern society puts on having money or having a fake status, like, a lot of people want to be something special, but not everybody's built for that. Not everybody's built to be a leader. There's a common saying like, too many chiefs, not enough soldiers. And we are living through that. Like, everybody wants to be a chief, but you are not built for that. But unfortunately, the society we live in pushes them people forward. Like, okay, you go forward, but you don't have the skills to do that. And again, I'll go back to politicians because they're the best example. Like, the examples in every department or any job you look at, but they're the biggest ones because they're in the limelight. Like, name one who's fit in that job. Even our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who isn't elected, even he's not fit for the job.
Yeah.
It's mad. But, like you say, we've got a few more years of this.
Yeah. I think it's going to be quite interesting too.
Yeah, it is going to get interesting.
Yeah. All right, I think we'll slowly start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Got a few more questions for you.
Go for it.
So, competing, running a podcast, running your own business, coaching, training. Obviously, you've got kids as well.
Yeah.
How do you kind of manage all of this? Because sometimes I just think, like, why the fuck am I doing all of the stuff that I've got going on in my life? And then, obviously, someone like you comes along and just puts me to shame.
No, I'm pretty lucky, mate. I'm lucky in the sense that I believe in family.
Yeah.
And I believe in, like, again, going back to the leader thing. If there's a strong leader at the top, like, you can build a nice team. And my mum is at the top of our family.
Yeah.
And I'm number 2. And, like, everything that happens runs through her. Like, she makes the final decision. But, like, and again, not just me, it has to work as a team. Like, my brothers, my sister, the close people in our family and friends as well. Like, we all have a good understanding. And I'm very lucky that my wife understands what I'm trying to do. She's seen my vision from day one. Like you were saying before, like how in Asian families, like when you do something outside the box, they're like frowned upon, or they'll just make jibes like, oh yeah, we'll see how far this gets. He's doing this. We told him to do this. He's not doing it yet, blah, blah, blah. Thankfully, my missus, she's seen the vision from day one. I said to her, look, just trust me and we'll get somewhere, just bear with me. And she's stuck with me and she does a lot for me. And I can go out and do these things. If she didn't, then I'd be stuck. And it's a family thing. One of my brothers lives with me, and obviously his wife as well. We've got a good and tight family. And even, brothers who have moved out, again, just because they moved out doesn't mean that we've got no contact, which a lot of people do. They don't see him for years. It's like they only live down the road. But, we try and keep that close link, and just helping each other. And there's nothing wrong in helping each other. And that's another thing. People don't like helping. And if they do help, it's like they want something back in return. And
Yeah.
it's like, look, today you're stuck, you're in trouble. I'm going to scratch your back. Tomorrow I'm going to be stuck. And this is something, foresight is another big one. It's missing. Like, everybody thinks everything's happening now in the present. But, present lasts in the present time. 1 second forward is already the future. And it's like, you got to think, nobody can predict what's going to happen next. And, I could walk out here and collapse and die, nobody knows. But if you're stuck, there will come a time. Nobody always has sunshine and rainbows. People go through hard times and things happen. And if you don't help anyone, nobody's going to come and help you. And again, I was lucky that people who I did help in my younger years and stuff, they were there for me, a few of them. Some who I thought will be there weren't. But again, you burn that bridge and you move on. There's no need making animosity or creating issues. You just move on. They've made their play, and you make your play. You don't need to chase anyone. And this is another thing. A lot of people make other feel people special because they chase them all the time. Nobody other than maybe your parents and siblings needs chasing after, or maybe your wife or your girlfriend. But that's personal.
Yeah.
But like, I think it should be. Again, it's a personal thing for me. The way I see it is, I ain't gonna chase you. Like, if I put in enough value into something, then surely you can see that, and you should be putting equal.
Yeah.
And then we work on this relationship, and that's the way I play. And with the family, like I say, we're a tight knit thing. But they know the moment I feel that the value isn't coming back, I'll cut them off, and they ain't gonna be part of this team. Because again, going back to the whole Asian family thing, now they can see the benefit. You know what I mean? Like, this vision that we had, it's coming into play. We're slowly building it. And they're like, okay, this guy or these guys know what they're talking about, or they had a vision and they've gone for it, and it's coming about. So why not stick with them? And we're trying to do a good thing. I can't see, like, what I'm trying to do with the vision that I've got, I don't think it affects anybody negatively. I'm just trying to help people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've also got a knife crime prevention thing at our gym. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I advertise it here and there. And that's another thing, like, we had to chase the police for that, man. It was a massive, like, few months. But managed to get a bin in and got some knives in and stuff. So, but we didn't get the support we'd think we would from the local community, even though we were actively promoting, like, look, there's a knife. There's a place somewhere to come and put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'll get safely disposed of with the help of the police.
Yeah.
But again, no help from any big businessman or, even friends who are business people who I wouldn't say you expect them to share things or put the word out, but you'd think, okay, somebody's trying to do a good thing here, so why not help them build it? I don't care if my name comes into it. Like, it doesn't matter about my name. I'm doing it for the community. It doesn't have to be me. You could just say Colosseum. Yeah, but no, people don't see it that way. People like, no, don't let this person get some kind of fame or nobody. I don't care about fame, but again, like I say, a lot of fake fame, a lot of fake clout. It's a big thing these days, and it's only there because the average person supports it and pumps it. If nobody gave these people the time of day, they'd be nobodies. So that's the way I see it. I don't give people fake clout, and I don't expect people like. I'm not going to kiss anyone's ass, and I don't expect anyone to kiss on my ass. And if you do start kissing my ass, I'll make it obvious, like, look, you don't need to do this shit. Like, just be normal with me, be straight, and we'll get on. No funny business.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone that wants to follow their passion, but they're struggling because obviously following your passion is a really difficult thing to do because it's inherently unsafe. Like, if you've got a steady 9-to-5 job, it's so much more easier to just, go do your 40 hours a week, like, come back home, watch a bit of TV.
The way I did it was, like I said, I had some money in the bank, and I was like, okay, I haven't got any, I'm okay, mortgage is being paid, and I'm making a forecast. Like, I'm going to give it 3 years, 2 years, and, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to teaching. And again, I'm a firm believer in whatever I do, always have a backup, always have an ace up your sleeve. because you never know when you might need it. And it's happened in my life where, for example, security, like when I left uni after my degree and I was looking for jobs, I was applying for graduate schemes. I was even applying for places like Aldi and Lidl. You couldn't get a job because it was like that recession time. And what did I have? I had my security badge and I could do static security and have a wage coming in. So I'm not, I can feed myself, feed my family. So yeah, I fell back and that helped me. And other little things here and there where, you have little backups just in case something happens, like they say rainy day fund and all that. So that's the way I played it. And I think most people play like that, where they give it a shot, like a good shot, not just a half-assed thing like, yeah, I'm going to try it. Like really have some money to the side. So, if you need to fall on your ass, you need to get that money, use it. And, or you got a disqualification, you can go do another job. And then give it a good shot. And like, I haven't heard of many people failing. Like these people, they carry on or they find something else better.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing is you got to take the risk.
Yeah.
Without risk, there's no reward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my question really. Like obviously you talked about the financial side of it, but the mental aspect of jumping into that risk, how does someone do that? Well, how did you do it?
I just went for it, mate. I was like, I just believe in it. I just believe. Honestly, like, I get up every day and I think to myself sometimes, I'm like, is this real? Like, I should be teaching, or I should be in static security. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And especially now, like my phone, like there were days when, I would go a few days or weeks when I don't get a message or a notification or, something interesting. Now, mate, like literally I finished training in Wolverhampton, turned my internet off. By the time I got my car, because I got this thing, when I go to sleep, I turn my internet off. And when I'm busy, I turn my internet off. So people know, like, look, he's busy. Like, he's not going to answer, blah, blah, blah. The whole WhatsApp blue tick thing and that, yeah? So my phone, by the time I got to my car, like 60 messages, ding, 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 different groups. I would message from you, I had other messages. I was like, now I'm going to get through these. And like, as much as it is a blessing, I literally, when I was coming over, I was thinking like, I just need to put this phone down for the time being. But again, I created a system with the phone as well, where like after 10 o'clock, I only look at important calls or important messages. I like my phone, like when it goes off, it just has a blue LED that lights up. And then I double click the phone, look at it. I'm like, in my head, I like rate it out of 10. And if it's not more than 8, I ain't going to bother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because again, when they started taking off, my phone was, because I was always texting and stuff and always replying at night as well. I couldn't, there was no organization. So I think and that's another thing. Organization is a big part of it. Like, you got to be organized. You got to have a diary. I say to a lot of my friends and people who like forget things or they don't turn up somewhere on time or whatever, I'm like, look, you could argue with me 20 years ago, yeah? But now you've got a phone. Everybody's got a calendar in there. Learn how to use it, yeah? Reminders, alarms, use them. Like, nobody's going to remember a million things. Like, think of CEOs of big companies, yeah? Like, you really think, like, they're going to go through every message or, they're going to remember everything. They have times, they have reminders, they have people working for them who do all this. So why not function like them? You know what I mean? If they're successful, then surely you should copy or do things what successful people do. So, yeah, but that was like one of the ways I was like, okay, and it's working. Like after 10 o'clock, it's peaceful. Like the phone's on silent, it's there. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, if someone rings me like more than 2 times, it means it's something serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, that's how I manage my phone now.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Last question is, what advice do you have for someone that wants to get into BJJ or MMA?
Just do it. Like, again, I think what you're trying to say is a lot of people say like, I want to lose some weight, I want to get fit, and then I'm going to start it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, that's a very common thing when we get inquiries. And me and Chris have had this chat before a few times.
Yeah, I met a guy that said exactly that like 5 days ago.
Yeah. And it's like, no, like, you're going to get fit doing it. I was 135 kilos when I started. Like, my walking weight right now is between 85 to 88 kilos, yeah? If I have a lot of food, maybe 90, I'm hitting some days. But again, like, when it's comp time, I'm looking after myself. And my end goal, I'm not, weight-wise, I'm not where I want to be. I want to get down to the mid-70s. You know what I mean? But I've done it in a very patient way. Like, I was 135 kilos. I've got no loose skin. You know how people have loose skin?
Yeah.
I didn't do a rapid weight loss.
Oh, okay.
I was losing weight whilst also doing, like, I lost a lot of weight till about 105, 110 kilos. And then I started doing weights again. I knew I was doing weight training when I was like 14, 15, so I knew what to do.
Yeah.
And then obviously with the whole PTing thing, I learned about. And then I was like, okay, got to that. And then that's when my first competition was 9 months after I started training. So I was like 105, 107 kilo. Because all that extra weight, like, I couldn't do shit, mate. Like, I'll show you the picture, like, you know, the gi belt?
Yeah.
You know how it goes around twice? It went around once, and it only just managed to get little knot at the end, just so it tightens a bit. Yeah, like, it was mad. And I couldn't move around. I had no agility because of the weight. But naturally, I had all that because I used to play rugby and all that stuff. So when my weight come off to a point where I thought, okay, I can move about how I want to move about, I can do things, I feel comfortable with this weight, I'm going to go and compete. And that's when I started competing. And then how some people, like, they compete and they go up in weight classes. I've come from the top coming down. So I've competed in all the weight classes, from super heavyweight and then like ultra heavyweight coming down. And now I'm like middleweight, middle heavy. And my plan's to get to like welterweightish, lightweightish.
Okay.
Yeah, for my height and reach. Because I'm still not happy with, you know, my body, my frame is there, but I need to lose weight. I need to lose more weight. But yeah, like, that is the wrong way to think about it. Like, I'm going to get fit. Like, if you were going to do that, you'd have done that years ago. And then gone and done Jiu-Jitsu or MMA or whatever. Like, just turn up. Trust me. It's the best thing you'll do. Because there's only two things that happen. Either you stay or you go and you never come back.
Yeah.
And you know the answer. And the worst thing is guessing about it all the time. Just go and try it. Like, you've been, you know, like, I can't speak for other gyms, but you know how we treat people who come in.
Yeah.
You know, we try and make it as welcoming as we can.
Yeah.
Even when we're rolling, like, it feels like you're in trouble, but you're safe.
Yeah.
We're looking after you.
Yeah. No, it's great. That's why, like, I go to Stafford from here.
Exactly. Right. And this is what I was talking about, like, that period where I put weight on. I went to other gyms and to learn jiu-jitsu and stuff, but I wasn't comfortable the way they were doing things and the way I was getting treated. But I think now, with me being a black belt and stuff, I can encourage a lot of Asian people now to start doing jiu-jitsu because, like, again, there were hardly any, and only in the last few years are the ones who are now training with me, and a few other popping up in other clubs. I mean, I got a good friend, John Han, Horizon BJJ, and he's got a lot of Asian people now training with him. I send him a lot of people because I know not everybody can travel to Stafford, but I trust John and his guys because I know how they roll. They're safe rolls. So I send them to him. You know, I don't know about, I wouldn't, Stafford again, like, I know not everybody can get there. So John's closer to me as well. And I always, like, my local guys, I send them to John. I'm like, look, go train with John. And if you want to have privates, we'll have privates. And I pop into John's now and again as well. How to roll with their guys. So, yeah, man. But it'll be the best thing you ever done, or it'll be the worst thing you've ever done. You'll know what you're doing.
Okay, cool. I think we'll wrap it up, yeah?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for coming down. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you in, like, the future competitions, mate. Yeah. Like the ADCC, I'm looking forward to that so much.
One day if I can make it, like, it'd be amazing.
Right. And good luck with March as all. Good luck with
thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, man. Like, this is my first one, by the way, not as a host.
Oh, okay. Yeah? All right. Thanks for listening, guys.